Within these pages, you will find what one of my friends calls a recipe. The ingredients in this recipe are a set of beliefs and practices. The steps in this recipe combine these ingredients in such a way that they create something powerful, an environment that is uncommon on the earth today. It is an environment that attracts and hosts the presence of God. We at Bethel Church in Redding, California, call this environment the culture of honor. By no means is our recipe the only one that creates a culture that hosts the presence of God, but we can tell you that it is one that works. When God first speaks of honor in the Ten Commandments, He promises that long life will be our reward for honoring our parents. At Bethel, we believe that this command reveals a principle of honor in general. We often say, life flows through honor. The principle of honor states that accurately acknowledging who people are will position us to give them what they deserve and to receive the gift of who they are in our lives. Honor creates life-giving and life-promoting relationships. The key here is accurately acknowledging who people are. We can only do this when we recognize their God-given identities and roles. This is what we see in the statement of Jesus. He who receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward, and he who receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. Names and titles are important. Mother, father, son, daughter, apostle, prophet, Christian, human being. Such names define a person's role and identity, and, when used correctly, establish God-designed relationships in which specific rewards are given and received to build and strengthen us. A culture of honor is created as a community of people learns to discern and receive people in their God-given identities. Throughout this book, we will explore some of the names that have enabled us to establish very specific kinds of relationships in the Bethel community. These are the relationships that attract and sustain the outpouring of God's presence and power in our midst. The names apostle, prophet, teacher, pastor, and evangelist, and their distinctive anointings, mindsets, and gifts create a network of relationships designed to bring the focus and priorities of heaven to earth. Names like free sons and children of light define the way we must honor and relate to one another, particularly when addressing areas of behavior and relationships that need discipline and restoration. Descriptive names like royalty, wealthy, and benefactor shape our relationships with our resources and with the wider community that the church is called to bless and encounter with the love and power of heaven. In a culture of honor, leaders lead with honor by courageously treating people according to the names God gives them and not according to the aliases they receive from people. They treat them as free sons and daughters, not slaves, as righteous, not sinners, as wealthy, not poor. Leaders also acknowledge their interdependence on the diverse anointings God has distributed among His leadership and their design for functioning as a team that creates a funnel from heaven to earth. They lead in teaching and preaching a gospel that accurately acknowledges God's identity as good, as love, as shalom, and look for clear manifestations of these realities as signs that God's presence is truly welcome in the culture. And in the safety and freedom that grow as His presence grows, leaders lead by developing ways to help people get along with one another in a free culture. They have tools for confrontation that are congruent with people's God-given identities and are motivated by the passion to protect and grow the connections that God is building among us. Finally, leaders in a culture of honor naturally lead their people in extending the honor of the kingdom to the wider community, creating ways for our cities to experience the life that is flowing among us. Life flows through honor. The clear fruit of establishing a culture of honor is that the resurrection life of God begins to flow into people's lives, homes, and communities, bringing healing, restoration, blessing, joy, hope, and wholeness. If we are not seeing this fruit, then we must ask ourselves whether we are truly honoring those around us as we ought. As you will find in the coming pages, I am convinced that there are some patterns of relating in the church that are based on false versions of who people are.